Hello, you beautiful bastards, and welcome back to another video. And today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to compare and contrast the two most popular Spider-Man books, Amazing and Ultimate. And I know what you're thinking. Well, duh, we already know what the best Spider-Man book is. But this video is mainly for newcomers, for people that aren't into comic books and want to get into it. You have to explain which one is the best option for them. Which one has better story, which one has better character development, which one has better art. All of these things will be incorporated into this video. And just to get less confusion, I am going to talk about the rebooted Ultimate Spider-Man and not the old 2000s one. And for Amazing, I am going to mention previous runs before Zeb Wells. So that includes all the way back to the 60s with Stan Lee and Steve Ditko's run. And without further ado, let us get into this right now. So let us start with Amazing, since that's the one that started it all. Written by Stan Lee and drawn by Steve Ditko. And then later on would be passed on to other writers and artists like Todd McFarlane, Jerry Conway, J.M. DeMatteis, J. Michael Straczynski, Nick Spencer, John Romita Jr., and so many others. And even though the 60s run is very entertaining, it's really through the 70s, 80s, and 90s is where Spider-Man shined. Where we get iconic stories like the death of Captain Stacy, the death of Gwen Stacy, the death of Jean the Wolf, the Black Suit storyline, and, of course, Kraven's Last Hunt. And this was also a time when Todd McFarlane took over Spider-Man and completely changed the game for Marvel Comics with his extraordinary art. And of course, he would co-create Venom. Now, of course, he would also write for Spider-Man, but we don't really talk about that part of his career. And then, of course, we get the very infamous issue where Peter and MJ get married. Boy, I sure they won't fuck that up in the future. And then we get to the 2000s where we get Straczynski's and John Romita Jr.'s beautiful run. And if you're on Spider-Man Twitter, you're going to see a lot of Peter and MJ moments from this run because it's just beautiful. Now, granted, it's not perfect, but that's marriage. And it perfectly captures that really well between Peter and MJ. And then someone at Marvel decided, nah, I don't like that. I don't like that Peter and MJ are married. We should, break them up. We should have a situation where Peter makes a deal with the devil to save Aunt May's life. And in order to save her life, he has to give up his marriage. That's the way we gotta do it. Oh, I'm such a genius. The fans would totally not crucify us. And then what comes after that? We get Dan Slott's long Spider-Man run, where you'll get a few decent stories, but pretty much you'll get a bunch of slop as well. I mean, Dan Slott spends more time on Twitter X than writing scripts. And then after his long-ass run, where he's banging other chicks and going into Spider-Verse events, we get Nick Spencer, who is somebody that I did not expect would do a fantastic job with Spider-Man. I mean, after his Captain America run where he's Hydra Cap, he also get Sam Wilson Cap, I was a bit iffy on him at first. But then, the first issue completely won me over. Peter and MJ are back together. Get another artist that isn't Humberto Ramos. And the best part of all of this is that Spencer is hinting that he might retcon one more day. I mean, he was able to retcon Sin's Past, which is another terrible Spider-Man story, in a very confusing way, but he did it. He's like, I'm going to retcon all the shitty stuff that has happened to Spider-Man in the past couple of years, and I'm going to make Spider-Man great again. And then good old Joe Quesadilla comes in and completely slams the door shut on that possibility. And right there, every Spider-Man's hopes and dreams die when the next writer of Amazing Spider-Man comes in. None other than Zeb Wells. And oh shit, John Romita Jr.'s back? Well, I guess this book may have some good quality... Never mind. But there is good news. The fucking run is almost over. Now to recap, there are some very iconic moments in the Amazing Spider-Man run. You have to cherry pick and choose which ones you want to read, because there's a long history and it can be overwhelming at times. Now, granted, not everything from 60s to the early 2000s is great. I mean, we got the fucking Clone Saga of all things, which is arguably one of the worst Spider-Man stories of all time. So you could definitely skip that and just read something like Kraven's Last Hunt or something. And now let's move on to Ultimate Spider-Man. Ultimate Spider-Man is written by Jonathan Hickman and drawn by Marco Checchetto. I hope I'm saying that right. And it is a reboot of the original Ultimate Spider-Man from the early 2000s, written by Brian Michael Bendis and drawn by Mark Bagley. And it technically is a sequel to the original Ultimate Spider-Man, but not really. Essentially, the whole premise of the new Ultimate Universe is that the maker, who is Reed Richards from the old Ultimate Universe, takes over that world, kills or prevents other heroes from getting their powers, pretty much rules the universe himself. And with the case with Peter Parker, he pretty much prevents the spider from biting him, thus leading into first issue of Ultimate Spider-Man, where he's an adult and has kids and is married to Mary Jane. And then teenage Tony Stark gives him the spider so that he can become Spider-Man now in his 30s. And I won't spoil much of what happens in the series, but pretty much I can say is it is very different than any ordinary Spider-Man origin, like vastly different. There are characters that should be dead but are alive, and there are characters that should be alive but are dead. And I would say it's a good starting point for newcomers who want to get into comics. And it's a very refreshing take on the character. And it doesn't have any stupid stuff like Peter making a deal with the devil. So in the end, what is the better choice for newcomers? The easy answer is, of course, Ultimate Spider-Man, because it's only 6 issues in. So you can't really tell what will happen next, but it's a good starting point for new comic book readers. Now, with Amazing, you can definitely check out some trades on these classic storylines like the death of Gwen Stacy and Kraven's Last Hunt. And like I said, you just have to cherry pick which ones you want to read. Like, obviously, you want to check out Amazing Fantasy number 15 and the first few issues of Lee and Ditko's run. And then throughout, you just skip a run and pick whichever one you want. So in the end, if you want the traditional Spider-Man origin, pick Amazing. But if you're sick and tired of seeing Uncle Ben dying, Ultimate is right there for you. And then now I'll leave the video off saying this. Fuck one more day.